Welcome back, Chapter 10. Simon. I paused outside the bathroom door, listening to Charlie gut-wrenching sobs. I gripped the back of my neck with both hands and stepped away, not wanting to invade her privacy any more than I already had. I hated seeing the stoop set of her shoulders. I much prefer her with her chin held high, blowing me off. Wanting to do something, anything, I called Jack. He assured me that Huck was doing fine, and although the recovery was going to be long, he'd likely come through it as good as new. For Charlie's sake, I hoped he was right. She treated the dog like most people did a child. For a non dog person, that might seem strange, but given the way my mother coddled her Pekingese and my father had babied his retrievers until they passed, it was nothing new to me. Hell, even the homeless folks in the quarters twisted the sentiment to their advantage, using pathetic looking dogs to pry dollars from the hands of soft hearted tourists. But for Charlie, it seemed to be something more. She was a mystery, a standoffish enigma. In the age of Google, everything about my life was available for public consumption with a few keystrokes. I didn't know her last name, but I was wondering what I would find if I did. Honestly, though, I'd rather learn about her from her. But that seemed unlikely to happen. She freely admitted she was only interested in one night, or less. But something about her made me want to explore this, whatever this was between us. I'd almost come in my pants like a teenager the night she casually stripped in front of me. She was willing to show me her body, but I wanted more. It was an uncomfortable feeling. Ooh, that is cool. He said he was uncomfortable. Normally, I was the one pushing women away. Charlie has shut me down more times in a handful of days than I've been shot down in years. I wasn't trying to be arrogant, it was just the truth. First, I was the son of a congressman, then a Navy pilot and a strike fighter, which was a straight up pussy magnet. Most recently, I was the decorated vet returning home to take his place in the family dynasty. The former debutantes my parents pushed at me wilted into my arm. I carefully extricated myself from those situations because the daughters of the city's leading families would expect the ring when I wouldn't even stay the night. So why was I so pissed when Charlie turned my very own MO on me? Probably, probably because I had my own reasons for not staying the night, and they had nothing to do with not want to do so on occasions. I headed to one of the guest rooms and turned down the bed. Given her worry about Huck, I hoped my actions would seem gentlemanly and not strange. I met Charlie in the hallway as she came out of the bathroom, drowning in the white terry cloth robe. Her clothes were rolled up in a bundle under her arm, and my shirt and boxers dangled from her other hand. Damn, that meant she was naked under the robe. I pushed the thought away and gestured to the guest room with the two glasses of bourbon I held. She followed me into the room, and I set one glass on a nightstand. Charlie placed her bundle of clothes on the dresser. She laid out the t-shirt and boxers on the end of the bed. Thought you might want a drink to help you sleep, I said. Thank you. She took the glass and sipped. She surveyed the room, lingering on the artwork. This isn't your room. No, guest room. She turned to face me. Good to know my instincts aren't completely off. Sazenza fruit doesn't really seem like your style. She gestured to the still life painting on the wall with her glass. My eyes narrowed, and once again, I was struck by the feeling that this woman was much more than she pretended to be. She just like those women your mama wants you to be with. She drank the rest of her bourbon, and I cast about for something to say. I hit on the most pertinent fact. I called Jack and checked on Huck. He's still doing fine. Her shoulders tensed for a beat before relaxing. Thank you again. I was going to ask you for his number so I could do that. I'll make sure you have it. The silence stretched between us, heavy and awkward. I guess I'll let you get some sleep then. I'll be down the hall if you need something. She watched as I pulled the door shut, but said nothing about my abrupt departure. I walked down the hallway to my own room, wishing I wasn't so fucked up that I couldn't have a woman spend the night in my bed. Because that's where I wanted Charlie, even if all I was doing was holding her close to take away some of her worry and replacing it with peace of mind. Not that she'd let me, yet. I sucked in a deep breath and exhaled slowly as I shut my door. In the morning, I'd make a call I've been putting off for years. It was time. Ooh, he want to do something because of her. Chapter 11, Charlie. The night was endless. Bouts of sleep interrupted by flashes of her collision with the street sweeper and everything that came after. Then my disordered mind would insert snippets of my parents and the angry faces of my father's victims into my dreams, and I jolt awake. I was exhausted, staring at the blank white ceiling, trying to clear my thoughts when I heard a shout followed by a loud groan. Simon? He sounded like he was in pain. I threw back the covers and dressed in his t-shirt and boxers. I padded down the hall to his bedroom. The door was closed. Simon, I whispered. Another pain moan and garbled words. Fear gripped me. I didn't think. I opened the door and slipped inside. A shaft of early morning light cutting through the open drapes highlighted his contorted face. He thrashed against the covers, hands clenching the sheets. No, fuck, no. A nightmare. That was something I could understand. I crossed to the side of the bed. My only thought was to wake him up and free him from whatever horrors were haunting his sleep. I shook his shoulder. Simon, wake up. His hands released the sheets and grasped my shoulders, yanking me onto the bed and rolling us both until I was pinned beneath him. I cringed at the pain of his hold. His muscles were flexing and clenching. Fear bubbled up inside of me. Simon! When he didn't respond and his grip tightened, I acted on pure instinct. I reached up and slapped him across the face. His eyes snapped open and he looked down at me, blinking and confused. I wiggled to get out from up under him, and as he realized he was holding me down, his eyes went wide. His chest heaved with ragged breaths. Holy fuck, Charlie, what the hell are you doing in here? Get off of me, I said. Simon rolled and flopped onto his back. His chest continued to rise and fall, and he buried his fingers into his hair. Jesus, fuck, I can't believe. He glanced over at me, his eyes wide. Did I hurt you? I didn't respond, only rubbed my shoulders where he grabbed me. I'll be fine. Jesus, that means fuck, I did hurt you. He sat up and reached for me. Reflectively, I flinched. My God, I'm so sorry. I sat up and slid off the bed, legs a little shaky. It's fine. I should have left you alone. It's my own fault. Simon sprang off the mattress, scrubbing both hands over his face. I'm so sorry. He looked up at the ceiling, fists clenched. Fuck. I'll take you home. I shook my head. It's okay. I sidestepped toward the door. I'm just going to go back to bed. Charlie, wait, let me explain. You don't owe me any explanation, it's fine. He crossed the room and I felt behind me for the door handle. Christ, you're fucking terrified of me because I hurt you. I shook my head again. It's okay, Simon. Fuck, please, just let me explain. He glanced at the clock. It's almost 6 and I'm not going back to bed. If it's okay with you, I'll make some coffee and tell you what the fuck just happened. He paused. It's about time I told someone. Well, that was cryptic. He reached for a pair of USNA sweatpants and shoved his muscular legs into them. My eyes were riveted to him even as I told myself to look away and give him privacy to dress, but it was a losing battle. Although he scared the shit out of me, I was still drawn to him. Simon's outward appearance screamed perfection, but the idea that maybe he wasn't quite so perfect on the inside intrigued me even more. Mm. I followed him down to the kitchen and took a seat at the table in the breakfast nook. I watched as he ground the beans and set the coffee maker up to brew. He leaned back against the counter and crossed his arms over his chest. "How much do you know about me?" he asked without preamble. "Enough," I said, even as I thought not nearly enough. "So you know I was in the Navy. I flew Super Hornet in Operation Enduring Freedom. I spent 6 years in the cockpit on missions, almost all highly classified." He rubbed the hills of his hands into his eyes. "I was young, cocky, and thought I was invincible, until I saw the first one of my brothers get shot down. That's a lesson in human fragility you'll never forget. I lost 6 more over the years, and I should have been one of them." I wasn't sure how I was supposed to respond, so I didn't. He continued, voice haunted. "I can't tell you the whole story, but I can tell you that a man I considered a brother picked up on a surface-to-air missile locked on me before I could even react. Kingman flew into it, trying to catch it on one of his tail fins so he'd at least have time to eject, but he miscalculated. We've been flying missions nonstop for days, and we were all dog-tired and off our game. I watched him explode in a ball of fire, and I can't stop seeing it happen. It was my fault. I misread my instruments, that we were even there where there could get a clear shot at us, and he was the one who paid the price. He had a daughter he never got to meet, and I made his wife a widow." His hazel eyes were shining with unshed tears when he finished. He turned to fumble with the carafe, that's a word, hand shaking as he poured 2 cups. He reached into the fridge and pulled out cream. "How do you take your coffee?" It was such a mundane question after the emotional raw confection, but I rolled with it. "Black, please." He fixed his coffee with cream and sugar, sat both mugs on a table, and dropped into a chair across from me. I decided to ask the obvious question. "Do you have PTSD?" "Not officially." "So, what does that mean exactly?" "It means I gave all the right answers to every strength the Navy made me see." "So you lied?" "Yes." He took a sip of his coffee. I was stunned, holding my mug to my lips, unable to drink. Yes, stunned by the confession, but more so stunned by how open and honest he was with me. Someone he barely knew, someone who could never be so honest with him. You just wait, he gonna get it out you. My next question made me feel like a complete hypocrite. "Why weren't you honest about it? Why didn't you let them get you some help?" He closed his eyes for a beat before answering. "Because of the black mark it would leave on my record and the stigma. I didn't want anyone to know that I was broken." I set my mug down on the table with a loud thump. God damn. His honesty tore through me, staggered me. Oh, it was a ridiculous, useless word, but I didn't have anything else. And now it's time I did something about it, because I haven't spent a full night with a woman in 4 years. I haven't let myself fall asleep holding someone for fear that I would scare the shit out of her when a nightmare hit, like this morning. "Why now?" I asked. Simon looked up and his stare trapped me with its intensity. "Because I want to spend the entire night with you." "Okay." My eyes went wide. "More than one night," he added. "Oh," I said again. I felt a pang in my chest where my heart was thumping double time. His brutal honesty did what legions of charm couldn't. It broke through my walls. To demolish my better judgment, I tried to appear unaffected, squeezing my mug to hide my trembling hands. He continued drinking his coffee as though he hadn't just rocked me to the core. One thought echoed through my head. Things were about to get complicated. I agree, cuz. Chapter 12. Charlie. Three sharp raps sounded on the door, and a woman called out, Simon, I saw your light on. I hope you have coffee. Shit, Simon mumbled, standing and moving to the coffee maker. A petite, dark-haired tornado blew into the kitchen. She looked to be in her 50s and was wearing black yoga pants, a black zip-up jacket, and hot pink sneakers. Her sleek hair hung to her chin in a flattering bob. Her hazel eyes and the angle of her nose gave her away immediately as Simon's mother. Uh-oh. Oh, hello there. Didn't mean to interrupt, she said as Simon handed her a mug. I pictured us from her point of view and winced. This looked like an intimate morning after. Simon was shirtless, wearing only sweatpants hanging low on his hip. I was dressed in his shirt and boxer shorts. Awkward, to say the least. But Miss Dutchison acted as though nothing was amiss. She held out a small hand with perfectly manicured nails. I'm Margaret Dutchison. Charlie Stone. Ooh, she gave a last name. This might be the point where they might search her. I shook it, choking a little when I realized I had almost given her my real name in response to her formal greeting. What is this family doing to me? It's a pleasure to meet you. We get to meet so few of Simon's mother, Simon interrupted. She smiled warmly before releasing my hand and speaking to Simon. I just wanted to stop in and say hello. I'm heading to my yoga class and I haven't seen you in a few days. We need to have dinner sometime soon. Time is running short before we leave for Maine. So much to do before we go. She turned to face me again. So, Charlie, tell me, who are your people? What do you do? I stuttered. Mother, it's too damn early for that. You can interrogate Charlie some other time. I'm sure you'll be seeing her again soon. Whoa. When I thought things were going to get complicated, I hadn't even considered a meet the parents scenario and the questions they'd have. Uh-oh. That's lovely, Simon. Her smile was sincere and welcoming, and not strained and fake like my mother's would have been if I introduced her to a guy covered in tats with crazy bed head. I'll leave you two alone then. We have to get back to Jack's office anyway. Charlie's dog had surgery yesterday. Her eyes turned huge and sympathetic. Oh, you poor dear. I'm so sorry for keeping you. I know you must be anxious to see your baby. My heart clenched at the thought of Huck. I've been counting down the minutes until I can call the clinic while I laid awake in bed. I glanced at the clock. Still too early. My plan was to get a verbal update, run home to change, and then pedal my ass over there. Shit, my bike. I left it on the side of the road. Fuck, it was history. Margaret balanced on her tiptoes to kiss Simon's cheek. Have a good morning. Tell Jack I said hello and that we'll be bringing Minka to see him before we leave town. And then she was gone. A dark-haired tornado indeed. I dressed in my jeans from the day before and put on my bra, but I wore Simon's t-shirt as mine was headed for the rag bin. When I mentioned that I was an idiot and had forgotten about my bike, Simon had shocked me by telling me he called Voodoo and asked Delilah to get it. That was very thoughtful, Simon. Apparently, she texted him while we were in the waiting room to let him know my bike was waiting for me at work. Simon dropped me off in front of my place and drove around the block to find a parking spot. By the time he walked back to Harriet's, I was ready to go. He called Jack on the way, and Jack had informed us that Huck was doing well, but they wanted to keep him sedated for another day or so to give his body additional time to recover. It broke my heart to think of Huck still knocked out in his stall, but Simon trusted Jack implicitly, and I was learning that I trusted Simon. It was yet another foundation rocking discovery. You all right? Simon asked as we drove to Jack's clinic. Fine, just a lot to think about. Huck's going to be okay. I know. I pulled a stack of $100 bills from my purse, wrapped with a paper band, wrapped with a paper band with 10,000 printed on it. The money was a huge chunk of what remained from the cash I run with. I dropped it on the center console. This is for yesterday, and hopefully will cover some of the bill for this week. I'm sure I'll owe you more though. Simon nearly swerved into a parked car when he looked down at the money. What the fuck, Charlie? Put your money away. I told you we'll figure it out. Okay. No, I pay my debts. And I know Huck's surgery had to cost a small fortune, not to mention a week in doggy post-op. He's my responsibility, my family, and I'll pay for it. Simon shot me an annoyed glare. I haven't even gotten a bill, so at least keep it until we know how much we're talking about. His frown deepened. I really don't like the idea of you carrying around that much cash either. I stuck the bills in my purse. Well, I tried to give it to you, but you wouldn't take it. So I guess that's your problem? You are so damn stubborn. I'm not the one who wouldn't take the money. Simon growled, like actually growled. I laughed, thankful for the distraction. What am I going to do with you, woman? I'm sure you'll think of something. Oh, I know what I want to do with you, but you go running for the hills if I told you. After this morning, that was doubtful. Try me. He shifted in his seat. I'd rather show you. He gave me a meaningful look, one full of seduction promise. Heat rushed through me and took up residence low in my belly and in between my thighs, only to be doused when we pulled into the parking spot in front of the clinic. Jesus, my libido was inappropriate and schizophrenic. As if he knew what I was thinking, Simon added, we're going to continue this conversation later. And that's the end of chapter 12. I like this book. I will tell you why I like this book so far. I like the book. The writing is amazing. I like the fact that there is communication with the characters. Even if it's long, there's still communication. I don't like when it's a long, drawn out, because they got to fill stuff in, and it's just one person's thought. I like the back and forth of the characters. So I like this. I just like this book. He is very respectful. I feel like he's very respectful. I feel he's very honest. And I think because he's honest, he's going to get her to be honest. I don't know if he's going to research it, because if you notice, she gave a last name, and he might look her up because he was going to try to look her up. And if he look her up and don't find her under that last name, then he might approach her and say, you got some explaining to do, Charlie. And that's when she's going to have to tell him about her life. Or he might be inspiring her to just be honest about her story. Because if she want what he want and they want to be together, they're going to have to find out eventually, right? Okay, so let me make this quick. There was one word that I had, I was stumbling over. So please hold. I'll be back with that definition video. Okay, and I'm back. And the word was spelled Carafe. And this is how it is pronounced. I don't know if I said Caref or Carafe. I don't know what I said, but here's how it's pronounced.
Carafe.
Carafe. Okay, one more time.
Carafe.
Okay, carafe. It is a noun, and it's an open topped glass flank, typically used for serving wine and water. Okay, makes sense. And you know what else I like about this book? They are using words that are, it's just me, hard to pronounce for me. Probably not hard to pronounce for anybody else because I never seen them before. But they're using words that actually go well with the story, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm learning some new words. And yeah, that's the end of this chapter. And I shall see you in the next chapter, which is chapter 13. Bye.